Hello.
Hey,
How's it going?
going good.
Good.
So I was just arguing with someone online because,
Oh,
because I posted a thing that says that a lot of people are under the wrong assumption that America is the oldest constitution state in the world, whatever.
right.
It guarantees rights and or is what, in the sense, of constitution is supposedly why people think America is great because of it, right?
Yeah.
This is wrong though, which I tried to explain, and of course I know it's wrong for me to have stats and the facts, but this one person goes, "Kings don't," because it actually is in 1200. So
Right. Yeah.
America, right? Like just a day or two before. Anyways, so long before America. So fuck America's greatness. It's a stolen idea. Okay. So most of its ideas,
Yeah.
including also anybody who mentions the Constitution of America and doesn't mention indigenous people and how much impact they had on like what we say or how we do or our
Right.
democracy. Yeah, because people like to never talk about, I don't know, the indigenous people that fucking lived here that he absolutely stole a lot of their ideas, made them ours, and then thank us.
Yeah. That's right.
I mean, you know how much that sickens me in general. But also, I really like the truth. I really hate when people say things that are wrong. And I'm not saying that, of course, I'm perfect. In fact, I
Right.
was thinking about how I stated in the last video. I stated that the chieftain had all these items. Well, actually, I remember now that's not totally correct. So I like to check myself because I feel like I could actually check a lot of people about what they say and stuff because I know a lot of things. As you know, Corey. I
Yep.
mean, I literally have studied the world, so I have a breadth of of knowledge that just isn't readily available to most people. And so, anyways, so I believe that though it's so important to be correct that I am eagerly check myself. That, like I told you before, I find that to be more trustable than someone who never admits wrong.
Right.
Trump never admits wrong. Yeah, that's not a good person. I would not listen to that. That's a fucking fool, a total fucking worthless fool. I mean, even if I didn't know anything else, just the fact that you never check yourself ever.
Yeah. That you're never willing to admit you're wrong.
Yeah, I just I don't trust those people. I find that to be untrustable, a behavior that's just. So, anyways, and that's why also I told you before why I like science. Science goes, this idea we've been pushing for like 100 years, wrong.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So science, although I'm not saying every idea that's new gets pushed to the top, immediately, but
Right.
I always think that it has to be. I think that there's nothing wrong with this tension that ideas have to prove themselves. I know it's crazy, but
Yeah. You don't just have to be like, well, everybody knows this thing,
right.
so
And then sometimes
therefore it's
things we know
true.
are wrong
Sometimes
and we
it's
need to
wrong.
update them, right?
Yeah.
That's what I was saying about the thing about America. So she says this, so the person lies back, ha ha ha, because I think they're an anarchist like me. And they wrote, ha ha ha, kings don't make constitutions. And I'm like, well, actually, they do. In 1200, I'll go ahead and read what it is just so people, because I'm not, unlike Justin, who focuses more on, what I consider history or current history,
Right.
for me, more current.
American
Of course,
history.
I'm like prehistory,
Yeah.
That's where I shine. It's the
Yeah.
history stuff, I'm not as good. But anyway, so I don't want to get it wrong. I want to read real quick what the UK Constitution said, back in 1200. So this is what it basically says. So the Magna Carta, which I won't even get into all that, but anyways, and it has to do with the king, right? So which in 1215 required the king to call a common council, now called parliament, to represent the people, to hold courts in a fixed place, to guarantee fair trials, to guarantee free movement of people, to free the church from the state, and to guarantee the rights of the common people to use the land. So, I mean, you know me as an anarchist, I'm not no worshiper of anything, but I'm always for giving people the rights they fucking deserve anyways.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm pro rights, So, I mean,
sure.
rights movements, cool. Even though that they're not anarchist, just rights movements, I'm generally, depending on what they are, within reason. Because I'm a rationalist, and it also has to be ethical and like reasonable.
Yeah, that's right.
So measured,
Yeah, and the thing, like the Magna Carta doesn't have to be a perfect example of a constitution in order to be a constitution.
Because someone's going to say that, right? Someone's going to say that.
Right. Well, it doesn't do this and it doesn't do that.
But this is where I think that, unfortunately, I like talking to anarchists better, because we just look at that and go, move on.
Yeah.
We don't need to have fucking 10-hour debate about, is that similar to a constitution? Who gives a fuck anyways?
Right. Yeah.
These are all human rights that should be granted, I don't know, automatically.
Yeah. Not at the behest of a king or a state or a president or
yeah. Why was that not always the case?
Yeah.
So but anyways, I know this is about our thing of the hunter-gatherers, but this goes to a similar theme I was trying to explain last time, in which I'm probably going to focus most of the time before we're getting into the actually hunter-gatherers on our third one, because I really want to understand why. Why do we need to learn all this, Corey? Right? We're anarchists. We don't believe in any of the states. We don't believe in any of the nonsense. Why do we need to learn about it? Because we've done it before, where we went to Mesopotamia and all that and learned all how first states started.
Yep.
We're going to go to Egypt too and do that, from 40,000 years ago down, not start at 5,000 like everybody else.
Right.
We're going to find out, hey, what really happened in, I don't know, Egypt. Anyways, because I like to because when you get that full thing, then this little tiny blip doesn't seem to have the impact or importance.
Right.
So just like, say, I'm sure that the people that were complaining, and I didn't look, were probably not from a place other than America or something that is Western centric, to be defending that, kings don't do that or whatever, to my opinion.
Right.
Because people I feel in areas that are not America don't have any like protection syndrome for America that I feel like a lot of Americans can't get out of or something.
Yeah.
It's like they've been focused so much dogma, they don't even know how to get out. But I think it's the same thing, though, about this video we're doing. Hunter-gatherers is such a loaded concept negatively, with a bigotry that they're less than, they're simple, they're, like I said, that even to me, when pseudo-archaeology people are talking about, things that, because this was just, I know, Corey, it's not your big thing to know all about pseudo-archaeology, but just so you get, or even maybe everyone listening, because I know I focus on, of course, this stuff more than, say, maybe the general public does. So, in general, people's conceptions are built by their environment, and our environment, even like say in America, I don't know other places, but cowboys and Indians, it wasn't some equal thing. It was the cowboys needed to win the bad people in a sense.
Right.
So I'm just making a comment. So the whole hunter-gatherers are not civilized farmers. So like I was trying to say is a lot of the pseudo-archaeology says that couldn't been done by those people with those tools at that time. That's like a common, in a sense, even if they don't state it outright, that's what they're thinking. These people can't, or their ancestors could not have possibly done this. They're
too primitive.
Right, too primitive. There you go. That's the primitive word. Right. So that's what I'm saying is I feel like it, just like, remember the book that I want you to read.
Yeah.
Right, which I'm sure you haven't, and we'll have to probably do videos on it, right? Have you read any?
I've read some, yeah. I'm not very far into it, but I have read some.
But anyway, so it's about the myth of the white race, and it relates to the mounds and stuff, because obviously these are too complex for the simple hunter-gatherers. Right? You get what I'm saying. So this is, I'm just trying to show you too. It's the belief too that when someone tells you facts of history, that you say wrong. Like that person said to me when I said about the UK and the Magna Carta. Oh, wrong, because kings don't do that. Well, how do you know what the fuck kings did?
Right.
I mean, kings have done a lot of things. Let me inform you.
That's right. Yeah. It's like one of these things, like, I'm just going to make a blanket statement about all of this stuff that I have actually not researched.
Right. I don't know if you ever heard of the Code of Hammurabi.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
We talked about that.
Right. What's that?
We talked about that.
Right. I know we have. But I was wondering if you remembered, because it doesn't mean that everything I've said, you remember. But anyway, so my point is, so the Code of Hammurabi is considered like the first, civilized moral, system or whatever, like almost like an eye for an eye or whatever. But it gives like,
Right.
you can't do this crime or it costs this much or whatever, which we talked about before. And other videos explaining that stuff. But to me, that was a king who did it. Remember I told you too, the first thing that many kings love to do, or even dictators, they're doing it for others, right? Even Joe Biden. Oh, I'm going to stay in the race no matter what.
For America.
Yeah, right. So
yeah.
It's this, once again, that kind of like nationalism. It's this belief, how great we are and how not great other people are.
Yeah.
And this, which I feel is a common thinking though in general. Like how great advanced culture is and not hunter-gatherers, but not realizing a lot of these things that you're saying are advancements. Just like say Graham Hancock. He has a whole bunch of things, which is interesting too, because how does he get to those are the right things? This is what's about evidence. Just people don't grasp in general as a rationalist. I hear that dude talk, I'm just like, oh, fuck. Because even if so his premise, right, is there's an advanced culture, but what does that mean? Advanced compared to what we already talked about? Well, it's from not primitive hunter-gatherers, obviously.
Right.
So like I said, already bigoted. But he's saying it's advanced. What does he offer that proves advanced?
Yeah.
You get my point? And then when does he say that occurred? And where is the proof that it was occurring when he says it occurred?
Right.
Where he said it was occurred. And then it transferred from that area the way he says. None of that matches. If you understand like the history, me and Corey have talked about in his videos and stuff, especially the one in Siberia. They're ridiculous. None of the evidence in any way supports what he says. Because just like I know there's a thing that is called hyperdiffusionism, which is a pseudo-archaeology thing in a sense, or a history thing, which is not like what I teach. What I teach is how people went out and then what cultures did what, where, when, and how they interacted sometimes going backwards and forwards, not just like one way. So hyperdiffusionism goes one way, boom, boom, everything happens, and everything just comes out of that.
Right.
That's almost what Graham Hancock is saying. He says one advanced culture does all this stuff, and then everybody is just a copy of that in a sense. No.
It reminds me of a theory I heard from somebody a while ago about evolution, where they were like, well, how do you explain the explosion of intelligence that happened between this time period and this time period? And I go, well, I don't know that that's actually a thing that happened. And what are you talking about when you talk about intelligence? What do you mean all of this? What do you even mean when you say this thing?
Or even explosion. How do you go from 1 million years and call that an explosion?
Right.
It's dishonest, right? I mean, that's not accurate. Yeah. Anyways, so we're going to go to the blog. I just wanted to address how I feel like it relates to all this. It's this science denialism. Here I am. I'm showing facts. This is what happened. I'm reading from Wikipedia. It's not. Damien is not making up shit like Graham Hancock does. I mean, I'm just showing you what you believe, and then what is there is not matched. But like I was trying to say about the Code of Hammurabi, this is not somehow like the kings in Europe all of a sudden got good. This is a dumb bullshit they've been trying this whole time, because if the people hate you, they might want to revolt. If they less hate you, they may not want to revolt.
Yeah.
I feel like people look at the past propaganda. Mm-hmm. Like, see, they say Democrat notices Trump stuff, and and even you could say Republicans, right? Anarchists, we see all of it, or generally, but Republicans can see the stuff on the Democrat side, right, or whatever, vice versa.
Yeah.
The reason they can't see it both is because they're really not just honestly looking.
Yeah.
We're filtering it through our side bias or whatever, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's also like, anyway. But so that's how the culture is. You're filtering it through. Graham has to be right because the archaeologists are the man, and the man's always wrong. Or what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know, especially to me when leftists do this. Like, come on, don't we believe in science?
Right.
Okay. Anyways, let's go to the blog.
All
link.
right.
And I added stuff, of course, because after we talked, and I think maybe I didn't explain it well enough in the blog.
That was the one, Rethinking Hunter-Gatherer Conceptions?
Yep. Yes. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna die on this one. Anyway, so after the video you see, right? Then you says my response. After that, I want you to start reading that.
Okay. Yeah.
But
and now
I want you to start where I added, because I explained like why, and that's why we're gonna look at the screenshots. I just want to explain better like why it's important. I'm trying to show that it's important because like even I was just argued and someone didn't believe it, and I'm literally showing you facts. You don't want to believe that. And it may go up against your Americanism that America, the prude, the vile, the break, whatever.
Right.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I am American, but that's not because I choose this political system. Fuck no.
Yeah. It's like it was Canada Day a couple days ago. Yeah, a couple days ago. I don't know. It's the least interesting thing in my life. Canada Day. It's supposed to be this big deal.
Right. Exactly. People like my wife's like, it's Independence Day. I'm like, oh, really? Is that today?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we were, we just hung out at home and had we had the kids here and we were eating barbecue and it was nice, but we're like, Canada Day? I'm not going downtown to celebrate Canada Day.
Well, and is it going to be an honest Canada Day where we talk about how we stole land and forced a genocide and then took people's language even away?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
What? I mean, that's also I told you every time I hear 200 years of freedom in America, it's like, oh,
what are you even talking
fucking crock of shit.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, with the slaves, right? Oh, and if the women that can't vote and are not equal. Oh, you mean those? Yeah. Oh, the Native Americans. Like, okay, well, the Native Americans. Oh, and then the Asians and the Hispanics and every. Okay, when exactly has But anyways,
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like the facts. Anyways, so go ahead and read it.
Right. So you say, I am adding screenshots of archaeologists, anthropologists, and historians talking about pseudoarchaeologists, pseudohistorian thinkers, or alternative history or alt history adherents and their followers. I'm doing this to show how important it is to learn actual history and fight pseudo-history, and how this is relevant today. The topic of hunter-gatherers is common in pseudoarchaeology/pseudo-history, even when not clearly stated as such as how they use a flawed conception of hunter-gatherers as limited to primitive and incapable of complexity. This is seen in direct comments, but also in more hidden thinking against the simple hunter-gatherers by saying that some ancient culture was advanced, pitting this ancient advanced civilization idea against the unstated thinking about simple hunter-gatherers.
Right, and real quick on that. So, but like say one of the things that he says is pottery, right? Math, pottery, building. But pottery, we know, came from South China, from hunter-gatherers, not from any advanced culture, from hunter-gatherers 20,000 years ago in South China. And then moved north 12,000 years ago, or 16, 14, something around there. Anyway, I think it's 14. Moves to Siberia, and then from there it could maybe started to move out, and it kind of did, but not real fast. But anyways, the point is that we know what that did. So when he says, "Oh, these cultures that that he thinks is advanced, right? That gave everyone everything. They had pottery. No one else did. Well, then they got it from hunter-gatherers, is my
right.
So one of his advanced criteria actually is an invention of hunter-gatherers, not some advanced culture. I'm just making a comment.
Sounds about right.
Right? I mean, I feel like everyone thinks like I'm being a dick or something because I keep focused on how the bigoted that is, right? But let's keep reading.
Okay. So pseudoarchaeology, also known as alternative archaeology, fringe archaeology, fantastic archaeology, cult archaeology, and spooky archaeology, is the interpretation of the past by people who are not professional archaeologists and who reject or ignore the accepted data gathering and analytical methods of the discipline.
See, I think that the last part is the most important. I mean, I'm not a professional archaeologist and never claimed to be an archaeologist anything, but I'm not an academic. But I'm a thinker, and I also have done a lot of research into this stuff, read up this stuff, and I think that the most important thing is accepted data gathering and analytical methods.
Yep.
Yeah, that is a big deal.
Yeah. Because you can take the as you do, you take the data and methods that they use, you learn from what they've discovered.
Correct.
And you go, oh, well, this fits into this kind of thing.
Exactly. Right. I don't make wild jumps in logic where I'm off the planet like these other people do. Or like I was saying, so we already proved that one of his advanced things actually came from hunter-gatherers. And then he talks about the mounds, right? Because just like the book, The Mound Builders, right? But I showed you that the mounds probably relate to Western Siberia that actually first started in forts and I think power. Although I do think it is not impossible too that the mound ideas came maybe from the coast in or vice versa. But anyways, I think shell mounds, this is why I would bring this up. Shell mounds relates to all this stuff as well. But I think the difference is, just so I can classify, there's at first with the shell mounds, I think it's less about power, but more about mythology.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying? Like, so I think the Western Siberia, where eventually everything's about power. Eventually those mounds are totally connected to power. But I think I feel like it's already though a thing. It's an Axis Mundi, which is the mound of creation, which even relates to the Egyptians and the Sumerians kind of stuff. And even the Bible, because the Bible says at one time it was all water. Right. And the Spirit of the Lord flew over the water of the deep or whatever. Anyway. I'm like, holy shit, I just remembered something. Anyways. Oh, damn Sunday school. Anyways. So, but my point is, so all these are really, though, that's why I also think shell mounds in a sense relate, because shell mounds were a big deal all over, and then they spread at a certain time, and so DNA shows up in the Pacific Northwest, and there's a shell mound 10,000. That same DNA, qDNA, goes all the way down to Brazil and does a shell mound as soon as it gets, not as soon as, but when it gets there, in a sense, 8,000 something, it makes a shell mound once the DNA got down there. So, I mean, it's not like an aberration to think that it's culture related. But like I said,
for sure.
And I've also told you before that it's not like one myth came in one time. Also, that's like the Graham Hancock, right? The one-time thing, or the hyperdiffusion, the one-time one, and everything that comes from that. I think some cultures can make new things. Some cultures just make new of old things.
And I think if we relate it to like modern times, in a sense, like culture doesn't generally just change after one exposure to something, right?
True. Yeah, true.
Like,
or does it completely change always? Yeah.
Sometimes it does, but not all the time. Often it takes like multiple exposures to be like, oh, okay, this is now part of the culture.
Right. Exactly. But so what I'm saying is I think mythology went first.
Right.
Yeah. The shell mound mythology
makes sense to me.
Power came later.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
So, anyways, I'm just making a comment, which that's why people think that power and religion and stuff totally was like a unit. Yeah, not really, because it's
Not
really
necessarily.
yeah. Well, it's because also they start now understanding all the religions now. Yeah, well, that almost makes sense. But we
Right.
start looking back. Oh, that doesn't fit.
Right. In a sense, you got to think of the people like in that position where they believe in this thing, right? Based on just whatever stories they were told or handed down, their culture,
Right.
And yeah.
But anyway, so but my point is, so things can be, if you look at the details, things happen. Sometimes one kind of idea comes, and then another idea comes. It's a similar idea. They're both, in a sense, earth diver myths, almost.
Right.
They're just not the same earth diver myth. But we already know this was accurate, anyways, because like the Proto-Indo-European, the German, the Italian, the Greek, the French, the English, Sweden, Norway, all these are the same mythology. India
Right.
too, Hindus, all Proto-European religions. So they share a lot of things, even though guess what? They're different, right? They're absolutely, if you read them, are not the same.
Yeah. But
So,
they share certain aspects.
Share. See, this is what I'm trying to say too, is that so then Graham Hancock goes, look, they share, so it has to be this one thing. Well, no, that's not accurate.
Yeah.
So that's why I keep harping on. And then that also trusting when academic, unless there's a reason, I'm not against not trusting people, but it has to be reasoned. It has to be evidence driven. I mean, you can't just say, well, I don't like because I don't know it. Or no, king's never helped any person under. Like, that's a fucking lie. It doesn't make kings good. Neither does it make governments good. I mean, anyways.
Yeah.
Sorry. Let's go back to prehistory. Go to pseudohistory. Sorry.
Pseudohistory is a form of pseudoscholarship that attempts to distort or misrepresent the historical record, often by employing methods resembling those used in scholarly historical research. Pseudohistory is related to pseudoscience and pseudoarchaeology, and usage of the terms may occasionally overlap. As conjecture based upon historical fact, alternate history stories propose what-if scenarios, collages of an event or series of actions and events, about crucial events in human history, present outcomes that are very different from those of historical records.
And just 1 second though. Yeah. So what they're talking about, what ifs are speculations, right? But this is what I tried to explain before, like to you and to other people. The speculation is a category. Then there's different kinds. There's ones that are more supported by the evidence and ones that are not. A hypothesis could be a speculation-driven thing from a science, but it's generally looking at something and going, wow, that really looks like this. Then they go test it, But my point is so different, just to speculation in general. I do speculations all the time, but I try to make my speculations evidence-driven. The evidence forms me to go, what could that mean? But I don't just do can that mean and stop there like they like to do, because they actually don't want to answer the question or actually do any bold research and then look at facts and be moved by facts.
Right.
Which I think is the other thing of asking a question is to, I don't know, see if there's an answer, and then also being willing to change and amend what you think could have been the answer.
Yeah, because by asking the question, it implies that you don't know the answer. Right. So you can be like, okay, well, maybe this is the answer.
And a lot of them saying archaeologists' answers are wrong or lying or hiding or
how did you come to that conclusion that they were lying? Like,
yeah, you get what I'm trying to say. It's like, okay. So they have evidence, you have nothing, and then you what now? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Go ahead and keep reading.
Some alternate histories are considered a subgenre of science fiction or historical fiction. Often described as a subgenre as science fiction, alternative history is a genre of fiction wherein the author speculates upon how the course of history might have been altered if a particular historical event had an outcome different than the real life outcome.
Right, and where that kind of intersects with these people is they'll say the archaeologists say that, Göbekli Tepe was built by hunter-gatherers, but the hunter-gatherers are primitive, so I know that they're wrong. You know what I'm saying? And then they say, well, because if it did, maybe it would be this, and I think it was an advanced culture and not the hunter-gatherers they think. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So they're just making shit. They have no literal evidence, and nothing they say is going to persuade. And that's why I also hate, too, that when fans of the Graham Hancock or this alt history bullshit is they'll go, oh, well, why don't archaeologists ever listen to that? Fuck that. They've done that for years and they're sick of it.
Yeah. It makes me think of, like, specifically when I watched those couple episodes of the Graham Hancock docuseries, because that's all he does is he's like, look at this and look at this. And archaeologists say that it was created by this group of people. But what if?
Well, see? Right. So, and so they're pushing, as they says there, at the best historical fiction. And yet you challenge the actual historians, the archaeologists, the anthropologists, the cultural, the geologists. They're all wrong.
Yeah. You're just going in with a what if, but somehow all the archaeologists.
You see that I'm saying how ridiculous it is.
Yeah.
And then say, oh, well, I wonder why they won't listen to it. I don't know. They have nothing of evidence. Why the fuck would they listen? I don't want to listen to them.
Yeah.
But
honestly, I don't know why anybody is. Yeah. I don't know why the rest of people aren't. Their fans are.
Really? So this is a thing about Graham Hancock real quick.
Okay.
In advanced civilization. But see how it's advanced? So
it's a nice
non-hunter-gatherer civilization. Yeah.
Yeah. So did an advanced civilization disappear more than 12,000 years ago? No, there wasn't an advanced civilization 12,000 years ago, as Hancock believes. Graham Hancock is an audacious individual who believes that long before ancient Mesopotamia, Babylonia, and Egypt, there existed an even more glorious civilization, one so thoroughly wiped out by a comet strike around 12,000 years ago that nearly all evidence of its existence vanished, leaving only the faintest traces.
Which he already said he has no evidence, so they're so faint. There's no evidence.
There's none at all, actually.
Yeah, that's faint.
Yeah.
Just clarifying what the faint in that meant. For
sure. No matter how devastating an extraterrestrial impact might be, are we to believe that after centuries of flourishing, every last tool, potsherd, article of clothing, and presumably from an advanced civilization, writing, metallurgy, and other technologies, not to mention trash, was all erased? Inconceivable. Hancock grounds his...
Pause for a second, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how much more energy do you need to put into it? That right there to me is... First off, as you know, like, you don't have evidence? Okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
The fuck?
But you don't even just have, like, no evidence. You have this, I guess, hypothesis where you're saying, well, it was all destroyed, but you should believe me anyway.
Right? Convenient.
Yeah, that's right. Hancock grounds his case primarily in the argument from ignorance, because scientists cannot explain why, then why, or X, then Y is a legitimate theory, or the argument from personal incredulity, because I cannot explain X, then my theory Y is valid. This is the type of God of the gaps reasoning that creationists employ. Only in Hancock's case, the gods are the magicians who brought us a civilization.
Right. And so, yeah, you can see where that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
But like I said, that the advanced thing, I was just showing you that every time that to me that's said, it's on the premise that not primitive hunter-gatherers, which is why we're doing this whole thing on hunter-gatherers, to show that if you just understood hunter-gatherers, their whole advanced shit would sound dumb.
Right. Yeah.
So go ahead and read the thing. Hancock's quote, my favorite Hancock quote.
My favorite Graham Hancock quote. In what archaeologists have studied, yes, we can say there is no evidence of an advanced civilization.
Right? Isn't that like just done? I mean, to me, that is like a death nail
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
And that's also why when someone before a long time ago said to me, Damien, you kind of do similar stuff to Graham Hancock. I go, don't you ever fucking say that. What the fuck? Hell no. Dude, I got evidence and more evidence.
Yeah, that's right. I'm not just making wild claims out of nowhere.
No. Yeah. And then then I see where it says help the valiant fight against pseudoarchaeology. That's me saying this.
In a world of Hancock supporting evidence, lacking claims, be a John Hoops supporting what evidence explains.
Right. And then there's my blog. People can click on and read more about Graham Hancock, addressing Graham Hancock, the pseudo-archaeological theorist, as well as flaws in his ancient apocalypse, Great Flood, and Seafaring R1b.
Yeah.
R1b is basically the people that did the Proto-Indo-European languages. They did a lot of horses.
Okay.
Boats.
Not particularly seafaring.
Yes.
Yeah.
Seafaring. Yeah.
Less
You
so.
mean about the time of the Vikings, maybe 7,000 years ago? No, they were drinking mare's milk and fermented mare's milk, and riding the plains on. Well, actually, they were first pulling with probably I think oxen, maybe even.
Oh, okay.
Pulling their mobile home kind of thing around. That's what a Yama 5,000 years ago really took off, is because they basically made like a mobile home.
Oh, neat.
Where they could just take and move where they needed to go. Anyway, so let's go down to Graham Hancock. Fake History Hunter. This is on Twitter.
Yeah, so at Fake History Hunt, Netflix's Ancient Apocalypse scraps U.S. filming plans after outcry from Native American groups.
Right, because he actually, believe it or not, was going to do a number 2 to his first show that you barely watched. And I watched all of them, sadly, but it didn't help me like him more. Anyway, so I think it's absolutely great.
Yeah.
The Native American groups said, I told you how this is not somehow a direct attack on their history and their ancestors and their. How else can it be?
Yeah.
Like we try to say, how many ways can I just go, that sounds pretty bigoted? If I was Native, that would piss me the fuck off.
Yeah, I would not enjoy that at all. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, I thought that was really wonderful.
For sure.
And also that fact that he hates John Hoops, who constantly exposes him,
right,
makes me like John Hoops even more.
For sure. Yeah.
So good.
Sure. So we got another screenshot from John.
Oh, no, actually, we're going to go down. I forgot. Those are old ones. We already looked.
Yeah, we already covered those
last time. We keep going down. And then there's remember there was we were going to start all the way down. Did we do permaculture? I think we finished permaculture, right? And then we stopped. So just start where the John Hoops is the second time.
Okay.
Because this is remember that bright insight dude who said the bigot that said hunter-gatherers or primitive, did he say, or simple? I can't remember now. One of those words, but said hunter-gatherers couldn't have built Göbekli Tepe. This is now a person saying John Hoops is not an actual archaeologist. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The fuck?
Yeah.
He's 30 years in the business and fucking he's like the works for the American Association for archaeologists, but yeah, he's not real.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, so John Hoops just says yeah with a laughing crying emoji. So he's got bright insight screenshotted. It says John Hoops is not an actual archaeologist. His silence on all the above matters is deafening. He's never once spoken up about the various issues that have taken place at Göbekli Tepe. He's just an academic.
Issues. First off, there's no issues.
Right.
The biggest issue at Göbekli Tepe was protecting it. Is that John Hoops isn't involved in that? I mean, like they say, sometimes that they rebury sites sometimes because of rain or looting or wind damage or whatever.
Right.
Snow, cold. Could flake paint off or something. So people are like, "Oh my God, they're reburying it." Yeah, sometimes they do that for preservation, and then they get to, believe it or not, they have to come back and re-dig it the fuck out,
and that's what like, yeah, like archaeologists know this. Random troll on the internet it doesn't necessarily know that.
Right. It would random troll with like I think it's 5 million followers or some bullshit. Yeah. But go ahead and I like with John Hoops you know, yeah. Saying that he is an academic grifter.
Yes.
In it for the paycheck. John Hoops has came on my show twice for free.
Yeah, that's right. And we've talked to him about how little he actually gets from his book sales. And
right, he doesn't get it other than his normal wage.
Yeah, he gets paid a wage for the work he does as a professor of archaeology.
Correct, and then they print books, and he gets nothing from them.
Yeah, so maybe a true archaeologist would speak out. Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's just you see them saying why I fight back. I mean, the shit they say is just what the fuck?
Absurd. Yeah, so then John Hoops says, I can't wait for the no true Scottish archaeologist argument.
Yeah. See, I told you that's another reason I like John Hoops is because he's one of the few archaeologists that also really gets into, I don't know, logic and philosophy.
Yeah. No true archaeologist. These alt history bros with their logical fallacies. And then he shared the wiki link for No True Scotsman.
Yeah, but here's another thing, too. So here's a dickhead on the internet, as you said, Bright Insight, fuck off, who says that John Hoops is not an actual archaeologist, and if I was an archaeologist, that kind of pissed me off. And then he says he's covering up shit, he's not speaking out about stuff, and then he calls him a grifter. And what's John Hoops' response is so terrible and negative. What an unprofessional, yeah. I mean, and then his other response is wait for No True Scotsman. And no,
just to show the logical fallacy of it. Yeah.
But do you notice he didn't do it with malice?
Yeah. No, there's no. I mean, he's laughing. He's enjoying the.
Well, yeah. But
he's not.
He could have been a hell of a lot, and maybe sometime, depending on my mood, I might have been more.
Yeah, that's right. Like if that was me, I would have been like, "What the fuck is wrong with you, man? You're a fucking idiot."
Right. Is that so? You know what I'm trying to say is here's these people that they're putting down immensely. Look at how professional they're responding to that attack.
Yeah.
And then that makes me think what? Less of John?
No.
I don't think so. It makes me think more if I'm like, wow, even when he's being called a freaking grifter and fake.
Yeah.
As his whole business is somehow fake and like, what the fuck? Yeah. Anyway, so I like, wow. So let's read No True Scotsman for the people that don't know philosophy.
So the No True Scotsman, or appeal to purity, is an informal fallacy in which one attempts to protect an a posteriori claim from a falsifying counterexample by covertly modifying the initial claim, rather than admitting an error or providing evidence that would disqualify the falsifying counterexample. The claim is modified into an a priori claim in order to definitionally exclude the undesirable counterexample. The modification is signaled by the use of non-substantive rhetoric such as true, pure, genuine, authentic, real, etc. So you may have encountered this when I did went in debating religious people. It was like, that guy's not a real Christian.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't believe what that
I was called not debating believes.
Right.
You can't be. You were a Christian once. It's impossible.
I've also gotten accused of this when I say that ANCAPs aren't anarchists.
They're not.
But people tell me that I'm performing the No True Scotsman fallacy.
Other than anarchism stands for no hierarchies.
And capitalism is a hierarchy.
Not only breeds hierarchies, it fucking practically mandates them.
Yeah.
So, and it certainly facilitates the living fuck out of them.
Yeah, for sure. So, I guess those are a few examples of where people have used no true Scotsman correctly and incorrectly, in my opinion.
Right. So, and I was showing you counterexamples of why we know that's incorrect.
Yep.
Yeah,
which is you give the evidence, right? You say this is why. This
right. Oh my woo, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, so you can see why this. But let's go ahead. This is John Hoops.
This is what John Hoops says. This is what's known in the trades as a teaching moment. And he's got a quote tweet of Jimmy Corsetti at Bright Insight 6. And he said, who's saying the state of modern archaeology today, a professor with a bachelor's in archaeology from Yale and a Ph.D. in anthropology from Harvard. And then, of course, below it is John Hoops' tweet that says, I think it would be okay to rebury Göbekli Tepe and seal the entire site with concrete. After 30 years of archaeological research at the site, there is plenty to keep archaeologists busy for a long time. As with Lascaux, I think a replica site for tourists would be great.
I don't disagree with this, and I already told you why.
Yeah. This is a preservation issue, right?
Right. And so he, like me, that understand. See, but this is also because I understand. It's not I'm an archaeologist, but I've read many archaeology books that are humongous and cost a lot of money because I really wanted to understand this stuff for myself. And that's why I understand like a lot of it. That's why they don't have such a hard time in a sense with me, because I'm going, yeah, I get it. Yeah. You don't even need to explain. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. Bright Insight needs to read some of those books that you've read.
Well, he doesn't believe them already. He thinks that that they teach the wrong stuff because his reasoned assumptions are correct and everyone else is wrong. Let's go ahead and read some of his bullshit.
Yeah. He says, why would the WEF want to prevent excavation of Göbekli Tepe? Answer, it may corroborate the biblical story of Noah's Ark was actually true.
See, right there?
Yeah.
Where in the fuck did you come up with that?
Yeah, you're just asserting a thing. Like, that's not even connected. God.
But I was just showing you, like, what I'm just trying to show why stuff that I'm teaching, even though it feels like not important, not currently relative. Yes, it is. Bigotry is literally formed from the misunderstanding of hunter-gatherers. And look at how these people start pushing all this toxic bullshit, and they're attacking scientists, like I said, unjustly, which how can you not say something about that? What the fuck? Like I said, here's the thing. Let's say no one wants to defend John Hoops, right? Or any archaeologist. This is a science issue. I told you the reason I started getting into understanding how dangerous Hancock and all this pseudo bullshit is. I just used to think it's just people telling stupid stories. I mean, I really didn't understand. It's not. I mean, yeah, it's wrong. It's, what if? Yeah, you're a dumbass. But I didn't think it was like harmful until I was told, hey, I don't need to trust, science because Graham Hancock has proved. I'm like, oh my God, I need to attack this dude.
Yeah.
Because not because, like I said, for some reason I need to attack him, but I realize he is harming something I think is important, like science literacy, like fucking A. Anyways, and not the Bible, like this other fucking moron. Go ahead.
Sound far-fetched? These 6 points may blow your mind. I doubt it. Genesis 8:20. Upon leaving the ark. Okay. Go ahead. I guess we can't. I'm sorry, Corey. We can't be friends anymore.
Yeah.
No. Upon
no, actually, I would say the exact opposite. I appreciate that you and me think so much alike. It's rare, like in my life, to have somebody like you're like. Especially anarchism. I feel like, even some of the socialists I interact with, once you get to anarchism, they'll like say how great the state is or how bad it is to have, like confederation as opposed to like centralized authority. And I'm like, yeah. Oh, is that centralized authority that we get all vote on? And there's no leaders?
Yeah, and
there's leaders.
They don't make decisions without our say, right? They don't. They don't just go up and make decisions that affect us without our input.
Yeah, right. What I'm saying. So no, I really do appreciate
Yeah.
You having that perspective. I mean, I feel like I told you, I feel like it's the right perspective. I mean, we're humans, we deserve rights.
Yeah.
How the fuck is this even like complicated? Anyways, okay, let's keep reading this moron's opinions.
So Genesis 8:20, upon leaving the ark, Noah built an altar where he sacrificed every clean animal and bird. I don't
First
see
off, how is
relevant.
that evidence of anything?
That's not
but also,
relevant.
isn't the ark supposedly built, I don't know, on the Mount Ararat, which is like, I don't know, I think it's, I don't know, it's like 200 miles away or something.
Okay.
Göbekli Tepe or something. Maybe it might be more, because I don't think about dumb shit like he's saying, but I do know the area, and the area is not close.
Right.
It's not like right next door. I mean, it depends, I guess. 100 miles or a couple hundred miles isn't that far, as far as thousands. But
yeah, it's not right next door, but it's not.
It's still wrong to go.
Yeah.
Everywhere in America is the same, right? Everywhere in Canada is the same. I mean, this is not right. Anyways, I'm just saying that's thousands of miles. But you get what I'm trying to say. Even if the ark somehow was and Noah did something, what the fuck? This altar would have been built, I don't know, like in Lake Van, right? Like below the mountain, not 200 miles away from the mountain.
This implies to me, like, I mean, we're not going to get a lot out of what he's saying, but it implies to me that he's ignoring a lot of, like, not because it's not just archaeology that says the flood didn't happen, right?
Oh yeah.
It's also geology. It's also physics. It's also like, there's lots of things that say that global flood with Noah did not exist. It's biology. You can't do that.
Corey, yes, of course. There's multiple problems. I'm just saying, even if we could agree the ark, the altar was not built 200 miles away.
Yeah.
Fuck, and with no explanation that's what happened.
He's just a nonsense person. What is
just? You know what I'm saying? It's just absolute. We're not going to read all these, but go ahead and read another dumb one.
Sure. Okay, so he's got the pillars of Göbekli Tepe widely depict various birds and animals, many of which are not known to originate from Turkey.
Okay, that last part is a fucking lie. Scientists have demonstrated each one of the birds in its natural thing.
Okay.
So
Göbekli Tepe depicting various birds,
or whatever it is that does birds. What are they called? I can't remember now, or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Anyways, I'm not. Whatever. I'm just making a comment. That's an absolute thing he has to prove.
Yeah.
That's a fucking proof claim, easily, falsifiable, as they would say. We already know that's wrong. I can show you a thing that shows which it is. This is absolute bull crap. Anyway, the Göbekli Tepe is
Göbekli Tepe is in Turkey, and so is Mount Ararat.
See, stop right there. What the fuck? He's not informing you that, like I told you, that it's like 200. I should look at how far fucking Göbekli Tepe is from Mount Ararat.
Calgary.
Actually, you do that, since then and I'm not somehow biasing it or whatever.
Right. So if I Google how far is Göbekli Tepe,
from Mount Ararat
is Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Tepe. It's one of the ones that comes up. I use DuckDuckGo. I don't use Google.
Okay. Well, you know what I meant. I meant is you do it, just showing that I'm not no bias. He's acting like it's like somehow we should think it's next door. How far?
Archeo travel. I got a word.
Well, not by flying by a jet, dude.
Right? Yeah, like if you're
make sure it's like actually, driving or walking or something.
Maybe I should use here. What about?
Well, I'm just saying, because if you do it by flying, that's hella inaccurate. They certainly weren't flying a long time ago, right? So his supposedly building, it'd be best if you can do walking, but really, because that's what they would have really actually done. They didn't even have cars, you know what I'm saying? But I'm fine with driving. I'm just saying, don't do flying, because that there could be like mountains and hills and shit in between,
For sure, you got to go around if you're walking, right?
Yeah. That's all I was trying to say is logically. I mean, but if you ever do driving, it's fine too. I just went out distance.
Jesus, it just is avoiding giving me an answer.
Really. Anyways, we'll just move on.
I get the most popular. What DuckDuckGo does is it gives you the most popular links. So it's giving me like noahsark.com and shit.
Oh God.
Okay. Let's try something else.
Well, I know I can go ahead and real quick, and I'll show you a map. I have a lot of stuff at Turkey. Okay. So I'll send you, and then we'll show it to the people too. I just want to show you that because the way he's saying it is absolute fallacy. Well, fuck it. It's like saying Washington, D.C. and Hollywood are in the same country. Well, they must be next to each other. Oh. Like the fuck? Right?
Not 690 kilometers.
Which is how many miles? Like half, right?
It'd be
300 or so.
Well, it's 1.625 kilometers per mile.
Right.
Convert my kilometers to miles. We'll go 690.3. 690.3. 429 miles.
Right.
So not right next door.
You get what I'm saying, how absolutely wrong that is.
If you drive 100 kilometers an hour, that's a 7 to 8 hour drive if you're on a nice highway at 100 kilometers an hour.
Right. And so obviously, right, not on next foot? Door, but saying it's in the same country and not informing, because see, he knows nobody fucking knows this. And look how it wasn't super easy. I kind of knew it's like 200 miles. I said, so it's more than what I said.
Yeah.
But I was trying to. But I wasn't trying to be inaccurate. I was trying to explain that
it's not right next door.
Yeah, but how he's saying it is that like they just like, well, see, he built it. This proves the Bible. What the no. Which I told you, I wrote a thing about it before because someone tried to say Göbekli Tepe is proof of the Bible, remember? And then you laughed. You're like, oh, that's funny. Well, you see how it's funny, but it's not funny because these people literally think that this shit is proving. And I'm like, it literally doesn't. You're like lying about history. All right. Yeah. I sent you one to about Göbekli Tepe, and it has the picture so you can look at it.
Oh, yep. Okay.
We're Turkey. See where Mount Ararat, the little over in near my Armenia, that triangle. Yep. See how you have to pass Lake Van to get there?
Yep.
Okay, Lake Van, as I told you, 4,000 years ago or so, the DNA of what becomes the Jews and the Kurds are actually united as one DNA.
Oh, okay.
Or one, like, say, there's a shared DNA, I should say. Maybe that's a better way of saying. I don't know exactly, but so right from that area, they go. The ones go to Iraq, almost straight south, and that is the Kurds.
Right.
And then the other people go over to Israel and then become the Jews or the Canaanites, which of course, but it's specific. The Jews have more Canaanite related to the Kurds than the Palestinians do, although they also have DNA that relates to the Kurds, but not as much, not as. So I think that there was multiple waves of Kurgal axe culture.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, I told you the ones in the north are different than the ones in the south.
Right.
And the ones in the north are more the Jewish related. And to me, go back to the Kurds. See what I'm saying? So it's a similar culture, kind of similar DNA, but I think it's some of, maybe not the last, but a portion of the later, not the first ones, but like the later or something like that, because there was migrations kept happening.
Right.
But as the Kurgal culture, of course, also got more powerful and bigger, it could send more people or whatever, But I'm just trying to say is that, so that's important to understand. Like, history, so you can start looking at where things are. You can't just make shit up.
Yeah.
Or I don't think you should. How's that?
I
True
guess
fucking
technically
lie?
you can, but like, why should anybody listen to you if you do?
Yeah. Obviously, these people, not only can they usually make millions
Right.
fucking lying. I'm trying to show why it's not accurate.
Yeah.
So I just quit reading his dumb shit. Then he shows
Okay.
picture of the Noah's Ark and then all these, things. It just, fuck. Go ahead and read. Then John Hoops responded to him.
Sure. So he says, according to some Islamic scholars, Göbekli Tepe represents the remains of the idol workshop of Terah, the father of Abraham. Jimmy's confusing Göbekli Tepe with the Dmanisi in Georgia, where remains from the animals that were on the ark as well as Noah's family were found.
Yeah, he's joking. That's why he put a thing. He
The
doesn't.
winky face.
Yeah, he doesn't believe this. He's making fun of him in a sense, sort of. And then I put as you saw, there's a documentary depicts ancient Göbekli Tepe as idol for Abrahamic age. I put that because John made the claim, and so I was just showing that is not an unlike Jimmy Cressetti, what John is saying does have a relevance to stuff.
Right.
So I just provided a link. But then I gave my 2 links. One, going against the pagan thing. You see what it says? Göbekli Tepe.
Right. Göbekli Tepe is more like shamanistic early paganism, not Adam, Eve, and Cain or Bible anything.
Right.
And then Göbekli Tepe, first temple, early paganism themes, sky burial, skull cult, T-pillar site similarities, obsidian trade, agriculture revolution, and megalith cultures.
Right, and just to go the similarities, they act like this Göbekli Tepe is the only thing, right? So I'm going to send you real quick another thing about Göbekli Tepe, just to show you like all the different structures there are, and there's more actually they're finding all the time because they slowly are digging more stuff. Because this is what the ancient history, liars don't get. It's not like they go through the archaeological record and just like capitalists and just fucking bulldoze the whole fucking thing and then look through everything.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? This is science. You go one little tiny, grain of sand at a time and all kinds of science. Just because, let's just say you take an artifact out. You may spend the next 10 years figuring that artifact and if it's culture or it's metal makeup,
Yep.
and
it's called studying.
Yeah. But anyways, I sent you a thing of Göbekli Tepe just to show you the T pillars. So that thing up in the corner that's blue, that's Lake Fan.
Uh-huh.
So below that is all this stuff. The
right.
stuff and you notice there's a lot of it. So if supposedly his bullshit Abraham built or Noah built stuff, well, he built stuff all over the fucking place.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Which one of these in particular is...
Yeah. So anyways, we're going to get off of that. I was just showing that, this concept is just fucking wrong.
Yeah.
Let's go back to, so John says he enjoys a bit of speculation.
Yes, he's sharing something. He says, I enjoyed the speculative but sober take on the origins of the story of Noah's Ark, and the Ziusudra epic, Sumerian origins of the flood myth. And it's a book. He said, and then John Hoops also says, there's been a lot of disinformation about site preservation and Göbekli Tepe spread by agents of disinformation and chaos.
I would agree, because this is like a basic thing. Science is trying to protect the artifacts. How the fuck does that not make sense to you?
Yeah, for sure. And I can't quite make out the on that one, but he says this person cuts through the crap to explain some basic archaeological concepts, and he's sharing an article that says archaeological site preservation and curation. So,
right, and then I put the links so that people can click on it themselves and know this information, because I try to help out.
Yeah.
So, and then he says, he's talking about how the ancient history bros treat them. If they don't like what you say, they basically block you or insult you or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah,
So then,
Corsetti blocks archaeologists who disagree with him and then claims the archaeological community is silent about his ridiculous claims. Yeah.
right, you see what I'm saying? Yeah. Some circular reasoning. So keep going.
Yeah. So
It says, for an excellent book about history of
here it is, yep.
excavation.
For an excellent book about the history of how excavation, analysis, and interpretation of a major archaeological site proceeds, I highly recommend this book by archaeologist Eric Klein, Digging Up Armageddon, The Search for the Lost City of Solomon. And then
right, but they'll never click on that because they actually just ask questions but don't want the real answers. They want their own bias to be able to be promoted.
They want to make up the answer.
Yeah. So here's a different archaeologist, or geoarchaeologist.
Boring Dan Falu, geoarchaeologist. At Soil Manda, I assume Mandan. Dan Richards is flailing. He's already had to abandon his claims Flint lied about ice cores and shipwrecks. Now he's desperately clinging to his fertilization point, despite already knowing his research is outdated and debunked itself. He hopes we don't notice, but he's done.
Right, and this is all of them do this. They just lie, and like Trump knew, then their lie.
Yeah. So then he's quote tweeting Dan Richards, the debunker, in the Flint debate. Flint says it takes thousands of years for a plant to revert to a feral state. When Joe pressed him, Flint said he wasn't sure exactly how long. When he responded to my video, Flint said he told Joe he didn't know how long. Never mentioned the thousands of years. That's nitpicky bullshit. Like when you say one thing quickly and off the cuff, and then somebody's like, "Oh yeah, but are you sure?" And you go, "Oh no, I'm not actually sure." And like, yeah, come on.
It's not a point.
Yeah, no, it's not a point.
I feel like I made a point about that debate about what the archaeologist could have said differently.
Right.
And that was, he said that he doesn't feel that Graham Hancock has a burden of proof. I think
totally
is
I
wrong.
think that's just wrong.
Yeah. So, and we explained it. So I'm not against addressing something that's inaccurate an archaeologist is saying. And when someone that can look at my stuff and say, or something I said is inaccurate.
Right.
If it's justified, what they're doing is fucking not justified.
Yeah. So we've got John Hoops then is saying Dan Richards is calling me a snake because I said he was like the fox in the fable by Aesop. Okay.
Can you believe that someone put his face on a snake?
Yeah, that's wild.
Just trying to show you that these people are coming at the archaeologists like they're corrupt, and these evil archaeologists, it's like, what the fuck? Anyways, but that's it. That's why I felt like this. I just had to thoroughly address this and why. Really explain why this is important. Why? And it's not like this is all stuff in the past. It's happening right now on Twitter right now.
Yeah. People just believe the most nonsense things.
Yes. And so this is a good link. The next thing is this is about the apocalypse. It's addressing that.
Archaeologists respond to pseudoarchaeology is now published online. I was co-author on this paper. That's from John Hoops.
Yep.
The SAA Archaeological Record, along with Flint Dibble and Carl Fegans. That's the from earlier.
Yep.
Apocalypse not. Archaeologists respond to Suka. I'm gonna just open that in a new tab so that I can read that later.
Yeah. Oh, it's good. Yeah, but once again, did they even go to that and then say, "Oh yeah, you're right. This was wrong and that was wrong"?
Right. Yeah.
No. They just say, "Oh no, you guys are liars. Oh, you guys are evil." Yeah, right.
You don't say what I like, so therefore you're a liar. Yeah.
But so what's the harm, right? Even to archaeologists, what's the harm? They're not liked. Well, let's read what it says. What happens? John says it.
By devaluing archaeologists in the eyes of the public, Graham Hancock is taking their rent money, gas money, and grocery money. It hurts the profession and is grossly unfair to hardworking graduate students and recent MAs and PhDs who are struggling to start their careers. And Ancient Puzzle says, Graham Hancock is not a victim. He knows how to attack since a very long time. I don't agree with all that has been said about him, but some people seem to forget that his claims on archaeologists, academia, have a very negative impact. Graham Hancock clearly knows this. And then John Hoops replies and says, it's a shame because the vast majority of archaeologists are conscientious, hardworking men and women with families who are just trying to get by. They are honest and forthright in what they do, and they do not deserve to have their honesty and integrity viciously attacked.
Right, to support lies that don't even have evidence.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
And then Lightman says, at Graham Hancock, you really are incapable of doing the most basic research, aren't you? You sound like a child. Face it like a man. There are no shipwrecks anywhere to be seen from your advanced Ice Age seafaring civilization. Grow up, Graham. I've lost so much respect for you.
Right, and I thought this was good because this is someone who used to believe him.
Right,
instead of me who never believed him.
Right. Yeah. Then we got Flint Dibble.
You see what it says? That how much the shipwrecks that they've identified.
Oh, yeah. So how many shipwrecks are there total? There's an estimated 3 million shipwrecks scattered across the ocean floor, from sunken World War II destroyers to colonial Spanish galleons to small abandoned dinghies. Today, many of them are teeming with marine life, reclaimed by the ocean as homes for coral, eels, snappers, and sharks.
I know, but isn't that crazy? To 3
That's
million.
wild. Yeah.
See, but that number goes, see, you haven't looked everywhere yet. Right? God of the gaps, man. It's full bloom.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, this is why I wanted to identify that, just to show the people to get this stuff is wrong. It's wrong even for philosophy.
Yeah.
Or even if you're a rationalist or skeptic, or you just like truth at all.
Just wrong. Yeah. But you haven't looked everywhere. No kidding, eh? Right. Yeah. Flint Dibble says, but at Dedunking Past is willfully lying and misrepresenting evidence in his video. He claims I ignored evidence from ice cores of lead in Ice Age layers, in Ice Age layers. But the titles of the articles he cites show these pollutants were introduced naturally, not by humans.
Right, because see, once again, they think the industrial age happened in the Ice Age. And that's what was metallurgy,
Right.
So the oldest, like copper, right, where to me that they have hammered it with cold hammering is what it's called.
Okay.
You just take a piece of soft metal and just keep hitting it until it does something, spreads out or whatever, shapes something. Is the Americas. Far as I know, that the Americas near the Great Lakes is the oldest cold. I think it's 11,000 or 10,000, something like that.
Okay.
And then 8,000 is that I know of. Of course, I'm not perfect, but that I know of is the oldest evidence of a casting. They did a mace head, to crack people in the head. Yeah, not
right.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, but anyway, so we know, like I said, with the artifacts, we know when the shit started.
Yeah.
We know what was going. That's why I feel like a lot of this acts like we don't know things. You don't know things.
In fact, like that is a thing that I've heard like people say in my day-to-day life when they're talking, like they watch the Ancient Apocalypse videos. And they say, "Oh yeah, well, I mean, nobody really knows," and you go, "Well, no, people know things. Like some of this stuff is no, like you can't just pretend that nobody knows and say, well, that's so then Graham Hancock might be right."
Right, but don't you feel after me explaining a lot of this that you feel more confident that things we do know and how wrong he is?
Yeah, for sure. After doing the show for 2 years, I know there's a lot that's known that.
A lot. That's why I said a lot of people will just make off the hand things, and to their knowledge, that's an accurate statement. Probably. Yeah. We'll say, well, this is that, and I'm like, yeah, that's not.
You can't universalize your own experience necessarily.
So, but I think, don't you think though, it's really helped? It's helped me, but don't you feel like it's helped you become multicultural in a way that
Oh yeah,
you couldn't have if you didn't realize how amazing the whole world is,
for
not just
sure.
some particular Western country?
Yep, yep, for sure. Yeah, I'm not as North American centric as I once was.
Right, because now when I talk about Göbekli Tepe or all this stuff, I'm not coming out of left field for you. I know.
Right, these are not new names to me anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and it's important though because you see, to some people, these are fighting things. I mean, look at they're calling archaeologists snakes in the grass or whatever. It's fucking
Right.
ridiculous. For what?
Yeah.
Saying that your inaccuracies are wrong? They are.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and ultimately, like, what do these individuals gain by maintaining the mythology of or their false
Followers.
beliefs?
It's
Like it's just clout, right? Like it's clout,
Right.
maybe money.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, it's
I guess
fucked up.
maybe I'm a person because I don't care about clout or money. So I'm like,
True, but what I was trying to say to you too is like this person debunking Dan. He's before said he was in the middle.
oh yeah,
He would attack the alt right people or the alt right the alt history people. Sometimes it's the alt right. So
yeah, for
that's not
sure.
wrong. But anyways, and then also supposedly when archaeologists deserve to attack archaeologists, I had no problem with that. I followed him before. Okay,
Right.
that I have no. If it's justified, absolutely, I did it. And
Yep. Well, I think that comes with the admission that like an individual archaeologist isn't going to be perfect, and the evidence doesn't show everything, and like so there is spots where people are making speculations, and maybe later on they'll find out they're wrong, or maybe something of DNA evidence that they don't know,
right.
or like it's okay to criticize people and be wrong.
Yeah, it is.
So,
I don't try to make my stuff on that
yeah,
because I know so much. It can seem like I'm just being a dick,
right,
trying to make people feel bad or something. So
yeah,
well, because I've learned that my desire and goal is teaching.
yeah,
And
that's
so
fair.
because it's that, I don't just attack every wrong statement that anybody makes.
Yep.
Because if it's not really productive in the thing of teaching, if it's just me being accurate, but it could be critical,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think there's a difference between a person who's being honest but is incorrect,
Yes.
and a person who is,
Absolutely.
lying, right?
Yeah, well, the
So
liars is just I'm challenging liars.
yeah, exactly. So you're
They
going
fucking-
after liars, but the guy who's just wrong, maybe you go, okay, well, I don't need to call him out on Twitter, right?
But that's all I'm saying is even though I could easily call lots of people out because
Right.
you experienced my knowledge. I know a lot.
Yeah.
And so, but I told you, but I go back to the value. But what's my goal? What do I want to do with all this knowledge I've learned? What,
Right.
be an online bully? I mean,
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Where's the value in that, right?
There's no value in that to me. So I would rather teach because I feel like I could help these misinterpretations be removed or for people to see, hey, look, these people are lying. Or they're at least misrepresenting stuff, or they don't know, or not saying good stuff. They're not using philosophy. It's not just an archaeology or an evidence problem. It's a thinking problem.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's keep going back. So anyways, well, there's Donkey Dan, Ice Core Layers. I don't want to go on all this. But like I said, I followed him, but all of a sudden he just decided to go after the fame and money. And so he started attacking archaeologists because, fuck, Graham Hancock's making millions.
Sure.
So, and he is getting more Graham Hancock-like followers. So, I mean, I don't want them unless they want to come and see the truth and can change, If they just want to keep spitting, that ancient society bullshit that's not even true, I don't have time for it. And but anyway, so that's the problem, right? For a globe-spanning civilization with 18th and 19th century technology, right? Ridiculous. It should show up in the environmental proxies, whether it's ice cores, pollen samples, geological cores, but it doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah. So then he says to at Icy Pete, please tell me if you think I lied about the I-square evidence.
Yeah, let's skip down. We can read all this stuff because it's just shows how they're wrong. But I want to skip down to where's it right here where it says I have never called Graham Hancock a racist or a white supremacist, right? But then do you see that? And then it says nor. Oh, but let's go back to down here. It says pre-colonial depictions of Quetzalcoatl. This is why it's important. Graham Hancock claimed it was a white-skinned deity. But if you see here in the picture, it isn't.
Right.
And then he says, well, that's the one before the conquistador showed up. Right. So if after they show up, they start drawing white people, that doesn't mean that's the original thing, right? And since your claim is this is let's see, why? Remember, it's the Seafaring R1B, the white people that came from Europe and somehow went all the way to the Americas and showed them how to build everything.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Hey?
Ridiculous. And then his defense of that is, well, some of them were white, and look, they're drawing white people. They didn't know white people. And this is an archaeologist that is showing that, no, they didn't draw white people. So that's a bullshit argument. Move on.
Yeah.
But anyway, so, let's look. So still trying to figure George out, right?
Oh, yep.
The Younger Dryas hypothesis has to do with the Graham Hancock thing that 12,000 years ago or so, a comet burst, killed this civilization or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so Jeff Lewis is saying, I'm still trying to figure George out. He misrepresents me, doesn't apologize, but offers me tickets to CS. I make a thread about problems in the lithic analysis done by arcs and hobbyists, and I believe insults and attacks me. All of this started because I made a comment about fair treatment.
Right. So once again, there's another archaeologist. There people are saying bad things, and he's not coming back hot.
Right. Yeah, he's like, just trying to understand where you're coming from, guy.
Right. And so I told him, I trust you, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
And I don't trust Graham Hancock at all.
Yeah, and he's got that's on his post. Thanks for being an excellent example of what is wrong in this space. When he's quote tweeting Pluto Son, and who says, "I would trust anything Graham says over anything spat out of your mouth. Your profile picture looks like it was meant for a teenage girl, grow up kid." Yeah, like just a callous insult on the guy's looks, right? Like why? Like why?
I mean, yeah, ageist and all kinds of dumb bullshit. Yeah, but what does that have to do with this fact? What if he's 10 years old and he's a prodigy? Would you still call him a kid? Is that still an accurate attack?
Yeah, he would. He'd say it.
Not an accurate attack.
Yeah,
maybe he's a savant. Maybe he just looks that way. It doesn't even matter. Why does his looks even matter when you know you're doing that? You know you're doing. I don't know. Logical fallacies.
Yeah, that's right.
But my point too is though, still doesn't really attack him hot back. I'm just showing you the where is the justification for coming hot at archaeologists when you do they don't even come back at you hot.
Yeah,
and then call them liars, snake in the grass, and cons and fakes. Like, you don't call me that. Right. You will not receive the same response.
I am not as kind as they are.
No, I'm just trying to show you too that, but also why it makes me more angry because these people are legitimately being kind of cool, and you're being fucked.
Yeah, that's right. They're just educators. It's like you too, like just educators on the internet. Trying to be out here, trying to teach people important news, like information, and they get all these attacks and insults and like attacks on their looks and like age and like, it's fucked.
It's fucked up. That's why I wanted to add this though, so it wasn't just like my opinion or saying, look, this is what they say. Look at how they respond. So then it says the pervasive, John Hoops says, the pervasive ignorance about archaeology is even more disturbing. Yeah, the fact they don't know anything at all, but then they act as if they do is disturbing.
Yeah.
And then how much they don't know about Göbekli Tepe, but that they talk about it a lot. Well, why don't you go read about it if you're going to talk about it?
Right. Yeah. Because he's got this quote tweet. He says, the pervasive ignorance about Göbekli Tepe is truly disturbing. And the quote tweet is from some Asha Logos, says, arguably one of the most important archaeological sites in the world, and a find that promises to completely upend and rewrite the embarrassingly backward modern / conventional storyline of history. Has essentially been purchased by the WEF via creative means. Like,
yeah, there's no reason to even show you more because that's just absolute fucking nonsense.
Yeah.
And then so John Hoops gives some things. Why won't archaeologists explain themselves?
Viciously attacks and mocks archaeologists who patiently explain themselves. What's wrong with this picture? Yeah, no shit.
Right. See, it's a one-sided thing. They're attacking them brutally and they're not even getting attacked back. It's fucked up. But keep on reading what it says.
He even says, I block the ones who are the most obnoxious. I hope many others will learn from just following our exchanges. Teachers gonna teach.
Right? I totally agree with that.
Yeah, for sure. Jeffrey Lewis says, what is quite amusing is that people say archaeologists don't know X. If the archaeologists have only read / done a little on the subject and should listen to experts, but those exact people read a few articles about archaeology and feel they know more than archaeologists. Pretty ironic. Yeah. And then John Hope says, regardless of the source of the claim, including out of someone's ass, the burden of proof for the claim is on the person making the claim and no one else. Furthermore,
damn right.
Hitchens' razor applies. What can be asserted without evidence can also be dismissed without evidence. And then Damien, you say, as one good at philosophy, I totally agree with you, John. I truly appreciate your thoughtful words and knowledge. You are a bright light in the world of prehistoric archaeology and anthropology. I also love that you address and support philosophy. You rock. Be like John. I gotta agree. I like his stuff. The way he reacts on Twitter.
Because I've showed you, right? I've showed you stuff that he's done, right?
Yeah.
And then I wrote in red right there. What does it say?
I defend and support archaeologists as I would when any scientists are being unjustly attacked.
I'm trying to get that point across. So then John Hoops, which I've shared this before, but yeah. John Hoops, what does John Hoops say about me?
He says, AtHope Marie is not an archaeologist, but he covers a lot of archaeology with a critical thinking approach.
And then he shares my blog.
Yep. Yeah.
Right. So I'm just trying to show you too, and why. Corey already knows why. Why archaeologists also trust what I have to say, or like what I have to say, or think that I think well, is because I do, and then I support it, and I'm willing to change.
Because approach with a scientific method or scientific mindset where you take in the evidence, use logic to evaluate it, and just try to draw conclusions that are reasonable, not out of the ordinary or wild.
Things that make sense, that they have support, that have the basis. And I try, as I told you before too, I try not to figure out just one thing. I try to say, well, what other things could relate to that? So that it helps you, like say the Caribbean, just real quick to explain like how I think and how I've done some of my research. So in the Caribbean, I wanted to see what languages in the Caribbean, like what words, because there's several languages, what words matched. This is important to see like maybe what the origin language was. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So one of the words they all have was water. But that just tells you that someone had to come probably over water. Because then once they all spread out, they all kept that same word. They changed other words. But since the Caribbean is both in between Florida and South America in a sense, right? Or Central America or whatever, where did they come from? Did they come from Central America? Did they come from South America? Did they come from, Florida down? Right? But water, it doesn't, so I'm like just making a comment. So you could have evidence that shows, which there is, that shows that they had to have come by water. The original people had to come by water. Great. We knew that anyways. They're living on islands.
Sure.
Not
Yeah,
very
they couldn't have
helpful.
walked.
Right. But to then say it had to have been Noah's Ark. Do you see how
Right.
ridiculous that
It's
is?
a leap. Yeah.
The leap is too ridiculous. The
Yeah.
logical thing is it had to come from South America, Florida, or Central America.
Right. Most likely somewhere nearby. Yeah.
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 So it came from South America. We can tell that by DNA and from cultural things and pottery and all kinds of stuff. I know. Fucking history and science and then facts and, you know. Anyways,
Yeah.
let's go to burden of proof in philosophy.
So burden of proof, philosophy. The burden of proof, or in Latin, onus probandi, shortened from onus probandi incumbenti e qui dicit non e qui negat. The burden of proof lies with one who speaks, not the one who denies. Is the obligation on a party in a dispute to provide sufficient warrant for its position. When two parties are in a discussion and one makes a claim that the other disputes, the one who makes the claim typically has the burden of proof to justify or substantiate that claim, especially when it challenges a perceived status quo. This is also stated in Hitchens' Razor, which declares that what may be asserted without evidence may be dismissed without evidence. Carl Sagan proposed a related criterion: extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, which is known as the Sagan standard.
And just so people understand, Hitchens did not invent that. He rephrased someone else's ideas. And also Carl Sagan did not invent that either. He sort of also takes that, as a thing. But putting it in a sense in those two categories of thinking, like limited, but I'm just trying to say that they actually didn't invent those two concepts.
Right. I quite like the extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence more so than the Hitchens, because sometimes people dismiss claims because they don't know what the evidence is.
Well,
and so then you have to, like, when sometimes like the claim can be the evidence, like if in a victim statement or something like that, right? So the claim is the evidence.
Well, going back to things. So once again, I think we still could, to me personally, could build a society that runs off of evidence, which is why I think truth is super important. Even anarchists believe you should teach the plain truth.
Yeah.
Right. This is not something I've invented either.
Right.
Teaching the truth should just be the goal. I don't know.
Yeah.
Then you can argue about what it means, but yeah, truth is the truth. It should be. Anyway, so that's why I think it's important is, though, the people starting that they think they know the truth when they're given this contrary evidence that contradicts their believed truth. Just like the hunter-gatherers believe that they're simple only, that they never could have done anything complex. It's like, well, most of the things you think complex, they probably invented.
Right.
Well, agriculture, hunter-gatherers invented that.
Yeah. No, it just came out of nowhere.
Like, well, sickle blades. Sickle blades. Yeah, didn't I showed you that which I told those other artifacts? He was buried with one stone tool.
Right.
All the other artifacts were found around him, or like in the same little, area or whatever. Very small area, by the way. My point is, so I said they were together. He wasn't like buried like with all these things surrounding him.
Right.
They were in right where he was. He himself was definitely buried with a stone tool, weapon, or whatever. Anyways,
right.
So I was a bit more accurate. So, but I'm just saying that this other stuff, is. But I think the Hitchens thing is still okay, and as a general rule, that
in general,
when you offer a claim that has no evidence, I don't have to do a lot to show that no evidence doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, like I think too, like you got like a pretty good, like all it takes is just saying, "Oh, can you show me where you found that out?" Right? Show me how you got there, and like there's a big again. Because the internet is what it is. That's not the same as
cool.
It's not the same as some dude who comes under my YouTube video going, prove that anarchism can work. They go, oh my God, okay. You're not even coming at this with like good faith. I'm not actually going to engage. But if you come and you ask me a question, hey, what have you read that made you believe that anarchism can work? I can do that. I can show you the things that I've read that made me think that, right? Like,
well, just because it hasn't even, let's just say it hasn't happened. Like that's like saying, well, because there was a time when there wasn't black human rights that were
Right.
championed by governments.
Therefore, it didn't work or it can't work.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like giving them rights, why do we deal with the black problem? There wasn't a problem other than you're a bigoted piece of shit that's been oppressing people.
Yeah.
That was the problem. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. But anyways, people constantly, misuse science, misuse philosophy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't dismiss the value of the philosophy or the science itself. It's just the people on the internet.
Right. So let's read. I have Hitchens Razor and Extraordinary. Go ahead and read them.
Okay, so Hitchens Razor. Hitchens Razor is an epistemological razor that serves as a general rule for rejecting certain knowledge claims. It states, what can be asserted without evidence can also be dismissed without evidence. The razor was created by and later named after the author and journalist Christopher Hitchens, 1949 to 2011. It implies that the burden of proof regarding the truthfulness of a claim lies with the one who makes the claim. If this burden is not met, then the claim is unfounded, and its opponents need not argue further in order to dismiss it. Hitchens used this phrase specifically in the context of refuting religious belief. And then extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. So extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, shortened to ECREE. I've never seen it shortened like that. Also known as the Sagan Standard, is an aphorism popularized by science communicator Carl Sagan. He used the phrase in his 1979 Broca's Brain and the 1980 television program Cosmos. It has been described as fundamental to the scientific method and is regarded as encapsulating the basic principles of scientific skepticism. The concept is similar to Occam's razor in that both heuristics prefer simpler explanations of a phenomenon to more complicated ones. In application, there is some ambiguity regarding when evidence is deemed sufficiently extraordinary. It is often invoked to challenge data and scientific findings or to criticize pseudoscientific claims. Some critics have argued that the standard can suppress innovation and affirm confirmation biases. Philosopher David Hume characterized the principle in his 1748 essay Of Miracles. Similar statements were made by such figures as Thomas Jefferson in 1808, Pierre-Simon Laplace in 1814, and Theodore Flournoy in 1899. The formulation, extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof, was used a year prior to Sagan by scientific skeptic Marcello Truzzi.
Just going back to where I was saying is that people, once again, believe he's the one that invented it, and I'm just, once again, I hate to be that dick. Like Adam Carnell, right? Adam ruins everything.
Right, yeah.
Damien ruins everything. If people talk and Damien goes, wait a minute.
Hold on. Yeah.
Right. So then I have a blog for John Hoops where I show his stuff, and then also Jeffrey Lewis, which we did a video with him too. And then the next thing is I talked last time and I said I thought it was 60,000 years ago that there was fishing in Africa, in Central Africa, of a carp. And I couldn't really find that. So,
okay.
But I did find that 90,000 years ago, they were in the Congo, which is almost the same area. Fishing expeditions catch giant fishes. So
neat.
Anyways, my point is I actually was, I know I'm right, but here's one that shows it even farther back. So
right.
Yeah, I'm still right.
Yeah, it's even older than I thought.
It's even older. I ballparked it. I thought I remembered, and I couldn't find that exact source of the 60,000. But I was like, fucking 90,000. Well, that's better than 60. So yeah,
for sure.
So my point was, I was trying to say how people try to remember, say, the hunter-gatherers, and like, well, we started as hunter-gatherers. They were fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just as long as practically they were hunter-gatherers.
Which we talked about, like the whole aqua farming and stuff.
Oh yeah, exactly. Right. I'm just showing you that but that's way later. That's like 12, 11,000, 10,000, 9,000. No, I think that's 4,000 or 5,000 or something. I can't remember. But it was definitely, this is way older.
Right.
All I was trying to show is that like they act like somehow the Europeans, because the people that left Africa, they were smart. The people left Africa were Africans and they were smart. And the people that stayed, guess what? Africans and smart.
Yeah, that's right.
You fucking bigots.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Any situation where you're going, well, these people are smarter than those people.
Well, I'm trying, but
yeah, for sure.
Which bigots do. But my point
they
is,
do it all the time.
Not only are you a bigot, you're wrong.
Yep.
So there's that also.
Yeah, so there's that also.
The evidence kind of fucking doesn't. So let's read that real quick before we cut it off.
Okay, so 90,000 years ago, Africans in Congo were undertaking fishing expeditions to catch giant fishes. Fishing is an ancient practice in Africa dating back 100,000 years, when modern humans started moving into coastal environments. The remains of thousands of fish bones and shellfish from sites on the southern African coastline dating to the Middle Stone Age testify to its antiquity. At the same time...
Wait a minute. Africans were advanced, Corey.
What?
Yeah. It wasn't the Great White Race. Oh, my God.
That's right. At the same time that human populations in Africa were developing more sophisticated terrestrial hunting technologies, they were also acquiring innovative and productive fishing and riverine hunting skills.
Right. So the same time, once again, for the people that weren't listening in the back, there was no such thing as a simple hunter-gatherer. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Concomitantly, I don't know that word actually, marine shells were being collected to thread onto twine. I don't either.
Just so you know.
It's a new word. I've never heard that before.
I still don't know what it means.
Marine shells were being collected to thread onto twine, probably for use as items of personal ornamentation. Archaeological research has shown that aquatic environments have been exploited for both subsistence and cultural purposes for tens of thousands of years.
Right. Yeah. Not a new thing.
Not a new thing.
In South Africa? Uh-oh, wait a minute. It's older? Oh, my God, Corey.
Yeah. So fish bones have been found at sites in southern Africa. Those at the Blombos Cave in South Africa, for example, date from 140,000 years ago.
Oh, my God, it got worse.
Jeez, eh?
Got like double what Damien said. God damn.
Right.
But I was still right, because my point was before of saying off top of my head, by the way. Remember you said like what people say, off top of my head. I was still right.
Yeah.
Off top of my head, I just didn't remember all this, I know a lot.
Sure.
Forgot a lot too.
Yeah. They have generally been from inshore species whose capture would require less complex technology. A small number of tuna vertebrae have been found, but these can be attributed to scavenging off fish washed up on beaches, says Richard Klein, an archaeologist at Stanford University in California, who has worked.
When archaeologists say that, I generally believe it, right?
Sure, I have no reason to. He's studied this extensively in the region, so
it's not right. Do you see what I'm saying? Why is it when some scientists say things, people are like, oh, yeah, every word. Then others sit there like, oh, no, that's not true. Did you study it, dumb fuck?
Right. How many years did you spend studying fishing in that region?
they couldn't have been fishing 90,000 years ago, Damien, because that wouldn't fit what I think of as hunter-gatherers.
Right.
They go, well, then what you think of needs to change.
Exactly.
Go ahead and read. When were they deep sea fishing? Oh my God. How long ago?
42,000 years ago. First deep sea fish, likely using fish hooks, dated to 42,000 years ago. And it seems people invented boats probably before 100,000 BCE.
Not only were fishing 42,000 years ago, Africans were deep sea fishing.
Right.
Or maybe not Africans, but I think these were another. On the way out, but anyways, I can't remember exactly, so I don't want to say because I think maybe these, but still, my point is deep sea fishing. I think this was, maybe it was near India. Can't remember. But anyways, it was Africans that left. So,
right. It seemed that people invented boats probably before 100,000 BCE, and around 50,000 BCE, they make fish hooks in Africa.
Oh, that's where I remember fish hooks in Ankara. This other ones was saying deep sea fishing. I think it might be out of Africa, but people who just left, not that long ago, because they left probably about 60 to 55,000 years ago. So they hadn't been out very long. But anyways, then but that's what I remember, the actual fish hooks being old in Africa, because Africa has the oldest fish hooks.
Right.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Is that an advanced technology?
It's pretty advanced. It's more than a simple hunter-gatherer.
They also invented the bow and arrow. I know. Or the throwing dart, one of the two. Anyways, so go ahead. The earliest shellfish hooks from the Americas.
The earliest shellfish hooks from the Americas revealed the fishing technology of Pleistocene maritime foragers. This is from a study, the abstract. While the North American archaeological record signals the presence of early humans along the northeast Pacific coast by the late Pleistocene, we know little about the technology systems employed by these coastally oriented colonizing groups. We here report the discovery of the earliest unequivocal evidence for the use and manufacture of shell fish hooks in the Western Hemisphere. 4 single-piece shell fish hooks dating to the terminal Pleistocene early Holocene transition between 11,300 and 10,700 years ago have been excavated on Isla Cedros, Baja California, Mexico. One hook is directly dated to 9,495 years ago with a marine reservoir, corrected age of 11,165 to 9,185 years ago. Radiocarbon ages associate the other with 3 other shell fish hooks range between 8,900 years ago and 10,415 years ago, while median ages for the earliest contexts confirm occupation of the islands by at least 12,600 to 12,000 years ago. The stratigraphic levels from which the fish hooks were recovered contained a diverse assemblage of fish remains, including deep water species, indicative of boat use. Thus, some of the earliest known inhabitants of the Pacific coast of the Americas employed shell hook and line technology for offshore marine fishing, at least by the Pleistocene to Holocene transition, if not earlier.
Right. We'll stop there for today. But because the next one is about trees and how in Finland I'm showing that they because this is always like the anarchists. Well, what will we do? I don't know. We should add more trees. We should take away more buildings. We should add more things that people live in and less golf courses when we need housing or whatever. I mean, it should be
but more biodiversity, less monoculture.
This was a study that the only thing they changed in the daycare was they put trees around it, and it actually changed the kids' immune system positively.
That's
just
awesome.
showing once again when they think that there is that we have to only have big advances and not go back to the small concept of being at one with nature and how much benefit that actually has. Like the Hazai bush people, right, which are considered some of it primitive, right, or simple bigots, because they have, in a sense, the reason I say this is because they have bows and arrows sometimes that do not involve stone tools. It's just a sharpened wood stick.
Okay.
And they just shoot it.
Wow.
So they're not even in the Stone Age.
Right.
Right. Because they don't need to. It works. There's no, I mean, people, and they smoke pot all the time. That they don't actually cultivate. They just wild,
Yeah.
And eat honey and honey ants, I think. But anyways, so there's a diversity in their environment. There's not a motivation to become more complex than you need to. This is why I think this totally fucked up. This belief that every society should be like hyper fucking complex or else it's not good is ridiculous. Humans actually, as we know, get more stressed the more kind of that shit that's put on us.
Yep.
We actually do quite well. And I'm talking about physical, because the hunter-gatherers have some of the most developed gut biome in the world.
Right. Of course.
So
It makes perfect sense, actually, because they're eating a variety of things, right?
variety of things, and they actually rest more than we do. So their lifestyle that we think is so ridiculous. I'm just making a comment. A lot of this is just bigotry.
Yeah.
Saying you don't want to do it is not the same thing as saying your complex way is better.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. For sure.
But as always, we're going to do more stuff next time. Not so much about archaeologists. I just felt like this is real important, and to try to tie the philosophy to it, why evidence and how things should be, what we should accept. We shouldn't accept things that just like Graham Hancock. There's an advanced thing, and you're like, well, what makes something advanced? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
and
why does
the
people not ask
explanation
me-
never comes.
You know what I'm saying? They're like, well, that pottery. Okay, well, pottery we know was built by hunter-gatherers, so you have something else?
Yeah.
Well, they did buildings. Like, well, buildings was made by hunter-gatherers in Western Siberia. Do you mean that? I mean, agriculture. Yeah, there's things that 40,000 years ago they started doing in Africa. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, to me, all the stuff that maybe metallurgy, like I told you, what's the first metallurgy? Two places, Turkey and the Americas.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them were done, well, at least certainly Americas was done by hunter-gatherers. And it's possible that 8,000, yeah, maybe there is almost power structures, like closer to what we think of, because I told you 8,000 it's just the beginning, because it's really 7,000 to 5,000 that the shit hits the fan,
right?
But 8,000 there's a climate event, which I told you we're going to do a thing. I sent you a thing about climates, didn't I?
Well, probably. I'd have to find it again, but yeah.
I'll send it to you again right now. Just wanted to really, before we go, I just want to make a comment about climate. People don't realize how a lot of the things that bad or whatever, the climate, is affecting not just climate, but like whole culture shifts happen. So you see the picture I sent you?
Yep.
Yeah. So the 8,000 event, that 8,200, whatever.
Oh, yep.
Right after that event, or you see it goes for a while. After, or in the time of that event, 8,000, everything really starts. And then by 7,200 is another event, which I told you 7,000 is when all of a sudden everybody is going out clan wars.
Right.
But all these different times I made a blog and I show how all these things relate to different cultural events that changed.
It's almost like the environment and the climate has an impact on people and the way they behave.
Yes, it absolutely is. I totally agree. But that's all I was trying to say, because once again, people are like, they don't know that. Well, I don't think the climate does it. Dude, that climate has done some. Put it this way, I'm not saying it's direct to do everything, but its associations are pretty amazing. Because you think the first one that's on there, I know it's hard to see it, but where it starts in a sense on the other thing, it says Younger Dryas. Remember, as Graham Hancock, they talk about that bullshit, right? Younger Dryas.
Yeah.
To me, 12,000 to 11,700. This is the invention of slavery.
Oh.
This is the invention of our culture. It then really starts heavy after this time.
Okay.
And this is when Göbekli Tepe. Right after this, the blue, when it turns to the gray, Göbekli Tepe. That's about the same time as the first mace heads, people getting smashed in the head. This is the time when they're starting to do the first, paganism and sedentary behaviors and all this. Everything changes after the Younger Dryas. But it has nothing to do with the Bible.
Right. Yeah.
Fucking weirdos.
Bible wasn't even written yet, was it?
Yeah, no. Fuck, no, hell no.
Like, how can
Bible says 3002 event right down there. That's about the time the Bible was written. About 3,000
That's what
years
I thought.
Ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll do a video on we'll do on that blog where I explain, because I really do want people to grasp how climate event. But right now I want to do the hunter-gatherer thing. Then we'll worry about
others. Yep.
But anyways, I think it was a good video and I appreciate it. And as always, we're trying to teach the plain truth, as an anarchist should.
Yep, that's right.
And we're trying to expose power's lies and propaganda because that's some bullshit.
Yeah.
But it's also, bad when you have these charlatans that go out here just like, the creationists or whatever.
Well, I think you're right when you draw a conclusion between the pseudoscience and misinformation and the sustaining of the status quo. Or like, I know people associate like mainstream archaeology with the status quo, but really it's just a science. It's just out there. It's a science.
That's right.
And
that's my point.
These guys coming on here with their like, but ancient white people and all ancient civilizations, they have an agenda. And their agenda is the accumulation of power and privilege and wealth, right?
Yeah.
And to maintain the system that gives them those things. So
I totally agree. Yeah. So this is why it's important, I think, to address this. Like I said, from now on, we're not in that blog. We're not going to be talking again about archaeologists and stuff or pseudoscience or what that bullshit's going on. We're just going to talk about facts.
Right.
But and explain stuff that help us grasp why trees are good, why decentralizing things is good, while all that
nice
normal anarchist stuff. It's just I don't know. We just look at facts. It just happens to support us. That's all. I'm sorry.
Right.
All right, Corey. Well, I appreciate and everybody. Go ahead and subscribe to Corey's Patreon and give him support. I mean, it's important. It helps me to have, him, come and talk with me through these subjects. Because just think, wouldn't it be kind of boring when I kind of know everything and like, nothing's that surprising to me in a sense, almost?
Right. Yeah. It's like, although I guess some of those channels do well enough, but it's just like the guy saying the things and that's it.
Right. Well, and also, just, which I told you I wanted to do, and I feel that it also connects to what you want to do. I do want to make it explain how it relates to political stuff.
Right.
I don't feel like that we're taking like these people where we have an agenda or something. We're pushing evidence. I'm just showing this stuff and saying, look. See what it means?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's like, okay, these are the facts, and this is how we connect these facts to reality, like to the world we live in, the political structures that exist. Yeah.
Right. Well, like I'm trying to break the hunter-gatherer, primitive or simple bullshit by showing the fucking facts that, boy, that doesn't match the facts.
Right.
So.
For sure. Right on.
Well, go ahead and tell us where to find you and what you're doing that's new and exciting.
Sure.
You're always doing stuff.
I got this. I'm the Skeptical Leftist podcast on YouTube and all the podcast apps. I abandoned my website, so if you want to, I got a link tree. It's Skeptical Corey linktree /Skeptical Corey, or you can check out my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Skeptical Leftist. Yeah. I abandoned my website. It's not worth the effort. Nobody goes there anyway. So
yeah. Well, I mean, some stuff like I'm not saying everybody's constantly going to my stuff, but I would never abandon it, or at least I don't.
Your writing is too. It's so comprehensive. It needs the blog.
It needs to be. Yeah. Well, yeah. People should really read through it because they even look how long it's going to take us to get through.
Just this hunter-gatherer
like 10 videos, 12 videos to get through one blog.
Right.
But this not as long, and I not all of them are as long. It's just this is such a as I've tried to show, such an important topic that doesn't seem important just on its face.
Right.
Oh well, why do I need to learn about that? Well, it would probably help you debunk a lot of bullshit that people think and say.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
right on.
All right. Take care, and I will see you next
couple weeks.
Yeah. All right.
Right on.
Take care.
Hello, and welcome to my channel. I am Damien Marie AtHope. In the simplest terms, I am an atheist-humanist philosopher and prehistorical writer-researcher at DamienMarieAtHope.com. I am specifically an axiological atheist. And axiological atheism can be thought to involve ethical and value theory reasoned and moral argument driven apatheism, agnosticism, atheism, anti-theism, anti-religionism, secularism, and humanism. Axiological atheists can be understood as a value theory or a value science atheist. As an axiological atheism's ethically reasoned and constructive pro-humanity. I am an axiological thinker, value theorist. The science of goodness, worthiness, usefulness, valuableness, virtue, reliableness, accuracy, validity, morality, integrity, beneficialness, etc., etc. We axiologists have a value consciousness. And in general, we see the architecture of humanistic humanitarianism value in people that we see as dignity beings. Places and things are not. Axiology is a value theory. In its broadest sense, it involves areas of philosophy that are deemed to encompass some evaluative or evaluation aspect. Therefore, it crosses almost all domains in some way or another. Now for a more detailed terms as to what I am. I am an axiological atheist, an anti-theist, an anti-religionist, secularist, humanist, rationalist, writer, artist, poet, philosopher, advocate, activist with schooling in psychology, sociology, as well as I am an autodidact, self-taught in science, archaeology, anthropology, and philosophy. I promote science and am against pseudoscience, pseudohistory, pseudomorality, things that are found in religion.